Good morning, afternoon, or good evening, folks. I'm your host and guide, Chris Roberts. I'm going to take you on a tour of the underground to help you prepare for what's really out there. Whether you're on the front lines battling the latest threats or leading the overall defensive strategy within your organization, my focus is to help you uncover the best ways, means, and methods to effectively and efficiently use actual threat intelligence within your company, providing you with more insights and practical ways to identify threats and reduce risks before they become incidents. Ready to dive in? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Depends where everybody is in this planet at the moment. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Dark web series. And we've got a full house today. It's going to be kind of fun. As always, or as normal at the moment, we've got Danny on, making sure that we're actually doing the right things in the right places. So from Cyber 6 Gill, we now have John, and I am absolutely freaking stoked to be hanging out with Cecil. So I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let John and Cecil introduce themselves.
I'll set the stage for you. My name's John. I oversee the cybersecurity community for Cyber 6 Gill. I've actually been in the industry for 15 plus years. Fortunately, I've known Cecil for about 10 of that, so it should be a good conversation for all of us. So I'm excited to see what we have in store for today.
Well, I can tell you, John, Chris, and Danny, it's so weird to have two Filipinos in a podcast. I think this is a world record. It's a world record. We hit the quota. It's like for the next 2 years.
Long may this continue.
Yeah. Cecil Pineda here. I work for a large healthcare organization. I also a co-founder of an organization called CISO XC, where Chris Roberts helps us out there. Happy to be here. I think this is going to be a really fun conversation with four of us. So thank you for inviting me.
Always, as always, absolute flipping pleasure. So generally, organic conversations, some general thoughts and topics to go through. And obviously the focus is, we have so much data and so much information out there. It's trying to understand how to take that and turn it into usable intelligence. And obviously everybody's got a different opinion. Everybody has different use cases and different thoughts. So really, Cecil, from your standpoint, I mean, as you are bombarded by organizations and systems and companies say, hey, I've got intelligence for you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about where the heck, what the heck, you know the deal. What are we up to?
Yeah. You ask a question that I still don't have a good answer. We have subscription from some of the threat intelligence firms out there. We're also subscribed to Health ISAC. I get on a day-to-day, I'll probably get maybe minimum of 2 or 3 dozen emails from all our partners, from Microsoft to CISA there's so much noise. One of our short-term band-aid is I have one guy in my team. All of them are busy, but I had to volunteer him to collect all this intelligence in one freaking email, put it all together, and tap vulnerabilities, tap phishing emails, hashes, IP addresses, emails. I could tell you, it's there's too much sources. We're still trying to figure out that happy medium where we could be able to. The problem with too much data sources is also we don't even have time to analyze and do actionable work to address them. It's difficult.
Yeah, this is something Danny and we talked about a while ago, which is that I love the fact you give me the data, but what the hell am I going to do with it? Great, I've got an IP address. Splendid, thanks.
Yeah.
How about you all try to help me understand what the heck I can do with this? Because you hit the nail on the head. It's that actionable intelligence.
Yeah. We do get some, there's more than a couple of dozen tools that we use today. Now, a lot of them, of course, claim to, hey, you don't have to do that, Cecil. We're collecting the data and adding them to the signatures, adding them. And I can tell you, for the most part, I think some of those are true. But we've seen some, IOCs that, hey, it's still not there. That's like 2 days ago. And, we had to do it manually on our end. So it would be nice to put all this together in, I recently close to buying a SOAR product,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's the holy grail, but of course, as you probably know, guys, we bought so many products and they told us, they can do all these things. So we'll see. It will help us have some automation on our threat remediation, but it's going to be difficult because there's just too much data out there and there's just too many vectors. We have almost 30,000 employees. We operate around the world and we have hundreds of customers around the globe also. So it's really difficult to put all a system together and be able to see, apply all those IOCs across the board. So right now, we're relying on, hey, for endpoint, you take care of this. Hey, for the network, you take care of this. And I wish there's a more holistic solution that could address all areas of IT.
So that's a good one, because I mean, there, to your point, you said it exactly right, which is there are companies out there which are like, oh, we can do it all for you, Cecil. You don't have to worry about this. There are unfortunately other leaders out there who will trust and abide by that. You're not one of them, and a lot of the folks that we have in here aren't that way, and that's a deliberate set of selections. How are you sorting those out? What kind of questions are you asking those folks to really understand and to start digging into this? And do you have even time to do that? I mean, how are you dealing with that?
No, let's start with the time. I like that because as many CISOs that we spend a lot of time in meetings. Oh, a lot of PowerPoints.
Just a few.
Yeah, and putting some animations here and there. There's really no time, and it's really a matter of combination of tools and people. I'm really lucky to work where I am because I'm being supported by my leadership for tools and people. However, with all this noise, I'll give you an example. How many Chrome updates did we get the last few days? Like 0 day, like 3 or 4.
Right.
Most companies would give up, hey, Cecil, I sent a notification, hey, we need to push the updates today. So they did. 3 days, 4 days later, I pushed another update. And I can tell you, the problem is all these things, all these people rushing, and people get desensitized with this too much. Hey, we're just doing this for the sake of doing this. And sometimes I feel like we're losing that, the bigger picture. We're doing all these things. People have no time. And, I launched a new project this morning and I said, do you really have time for it? We don't have time. And we're hoping automation, people, process, again, those buzzwords, again, it's hard. So,
but we're going to have to put something into those. I mean, that's where, there was a lunch meeting today that I didn't make, but I'm going to be having a conversation with the vendor fairly soon, which is I need you to give me time back in my day. I need to be able to trust that you can accurately represent what we need and that you have the ability to do, A, B, and C, because I need time back. The team needs time back. And unfortunately, I mean, some of them have got history, and thankfully, there's a lot of us that know each other that were like, hey, what have you seen? What have you thought? What do you do about this vendor? But ultimately, unfortunately, at the end of the day, there are times when you've just got to put them in and see what the heck happens. And that's a risk in itself.
Yeah. All CISOs and congratulations, by the way, in order.
Thank you.
You're
it's
going to be
scary. It's a little scary, and get back into being civilized again.
Yeah, you're going to be spending a lot of time on your meetings and PowerPoints.
Already am. Week and a half in, already am.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I always, it is, I met my team I want to share this story. I met my team about a month ago in Chicago. I visited and, I told them, hey, we work like 8-9 hours a day just on meetings. And then after the meeting, we have time to eat a little bit and we can actually do some actual work. And we have all these vendors touting 0 days, touting, hey, many of them work. The difficulty is, I think we forgot that we got to find, maybe Chris, but I have not found a solution that will, at least from a CISO perspective, that could give me my time back. I wish that I could be able, I told my team on May 1, I just want to work 6 hours a day so I could do other things for 3 hours. The problem is, I don't think it's going to happen. It's already April 21 and I'm still in 10 to 12 meetings a day.
In some ways, I'm fortunate. I'm in a different situation to you. You've walked into an organization, to your point, you got 30,000. Your organization's established and you've got to try to work out where you can best affect. For me, I'm very, very fortunate. I got a different position. I'm walking into an organization of like 250 people. So the ability to affect policies, procedures, controls, effectively work with the amazing people team that we have there, work with the legal and compliance folks at the early stage and build those blocks effectively before we end up at thousands of people. I'm like stupid fortunate. So I've got that at the moment. But to your point, I better make sure I get it right, because when we get into those thousands of people, if I don't have it right, I'm going to be in the same boat. I'm going to be running around like a headless bloody chicken, which isn't going to work.
Well, I am also fortunate. I work for an amazing company, and one of the things I'm really happy is, in the past, you have to take care of privacy, compliance, and other things, business continuity, disaster recovery. The company is large enough to be able to assign leadership and roles to those areas. So I really fortunate to focus. Now, my challenge is a little bit more different from you. My challenge is my company enjoys buying a lot of companies. So we've been buying companies, and when you buy into, I think collectively after June 1 will be an amalgamation of maybe 15 to 20 companies over the last 10 years. And we've grown organically, but we've grown also by acquisition. And you could see a lot of these acquisitions are, even in a typical couples getting married, it's not easy to, mesh in one day. And, when you buy companies every few months and, you integrate it, we integrate it, you end up with a bunch of tools, a bunch of process, a bunch of people. The challenge for me is really, how can I harmonize people, our processes, and technology? And as I was discussing with my counterpart at lunchtime today, security people are an amazing creatures, but at the same time, we get to attach with our people, with our tools, with our process. The emotion when you're merging with one company and with another, it's so hard to give up the tools that you fought hard to buy, implement, configure, make it workable, operationalize it. So anyway, just want to share.
No, I get it. That's the tools thing is really interesting, and this comes back to that tool selection. Now, the purchase and acquisition and that M&A, we're actually, so within the boom side of it, there's some discussions over certain things in that area. And I'm like, love it. But I'm now going to bring that whole information and intelligence, and I'm going to build a packet so that we actually walk into those discussions with our eyes wide open, so that we don't get, to your point, you can't just put the two companies together and go, we'll figure it out. Well, you shouldn't be doing that. And I know you won't, but it's one of those where I want the leadership, the team, and whoever's part of that conversation to say, here's your intelligence packet. Here's what we know, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent about the organization, the people, the technology, the processes before anything even happens. So for me, that's a good use of the tech that we actually have, that we typically only apply internally or within the org itself or the third parties.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, the good thing is, welcome to the world again, Chris, and
thanks.
It will be an interesting journey. I really wanna, you're coming from a different background than me. I'm been all over the place, audit, privacy, security. At one point I also managed some firewalls in my past, but now as a CISO for the third time now, it's increasingly different. You always look at it from different lens. So for you, you're the Chris Roberts, the CISO at Boom.
A little scary on that one as well. A little scary. Yeah. Hey, I've got a question for you, because to your point, you've done this a couple of times. We're having the conversations now inside Boom about communication with the board, because there's some recent stuff coming out from the government where the board is now going to have to be more aware, more alert, more representative on the security stuff. I'm interested on your thoughts on that, especially as it pertains to how do we educate them and all that stuff. So I'd love some thoughts on this one.
No, I am excited to answer this, by the way. And I'm very fortunate to have a board like my company's board. I can tell you, they know cyber. And I think this is a trend across corporate America. A lot of the board of directors today are getting very familiar with cyber threats, and we all know it directly impacts the bottom line. And in fact, next month, I am so excited, so stoked. I'm invited to my first board meeting, and I'll bring my Filipino accent to our board of directors. I hope they will understand my accent, but I would like to share I'd like to share our roadmap, some of our wins, some of our challenges, and oh, I'm so excited. And what is interesting, I want to add to your question is, I didn't even have to invite them to my one of my we do a lot of tabletops, and one of my
Right.
special guests, three of them are actually board of directors. So one of my upcoming tabletop, and you could see the support of that leadership when companies like that support it at that level. I don't have a difficulty asking for budget and support.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice to hear. That's like,
Yeah.
and that's putting some similar things in place, putting the awareness in place, helping them understand the threat landscape, the information, the intelligence, and then being able to follow that up with, now let's help you prepare. Let's help you get ready. Let's give you the thoughts, and yeah, get ready for a 6'3" hairy thing to wander in and out on an occasional basis. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually looking forward to it. There's some good people on it, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on this one? I mean, again, let's go back to some of the stuff you were talking about. Too much noise. You know, we started on that one right at the beginning. Everybody's trying to tell you that there's so many different problems. How you talked about SOAR being one potential way of actually consolidating that and trying to lessen the noise. What other thoughts do you have? I mean, how else are you sorting out, you know, what's usable, what's actionable? I'm kind of intrigued on that.
Well, I'm really hopeful that you'll start a new product that will solve many of my problems, Chris. But unfortunately, you decide to become a CISO again. Um, it's really difficult, as most companies seem, that was the hope. It provides a lot of value, but the SOAR, we're thinking, yeah, it could be the solution. But I think as an industry as a whole, I don't think we've figured it out. A lot of smart people in our industry today, and I'm hoping that we could get, I'm sure we cannot find the silver bullet, but I really want to find a solution that's beyond the same, beyond SOAR, something that takes all this data in, which originally we thought SIM that was the intention, but it morphed into more like a correlation tool. And, the SOAR was the next one that, I'm hoping that will help reduce the noise. But I can tell you, to be honest with you, I was hoping that you'll build a tool for us, Chris.
I'm working on some stuff. I'm still working on it, even though we've got the Dave. Even though we've got, I got the stuff with Boom. We still have the Dave product sitting behind the scenes that we're doing some work on. So I'm hopeful that we're doing, and we've actually tied the Cyber 6 skill into that, which is actually going to be a ton of fun. So,
well, I'm really hoping. Are you attending RSA and Black Hat?
Yeah, I'll have the
one.
whiskey case with me as well.
I'll be there, boss. So I'm hoping we'll find some solutions out there that could bridge those gaps, or at least put all this stuff together in one tent and be able to give us the intelligence in one remediation. I know it's gonna be difficult, but I'm pretty sure a company or companies out there will have something very soon for us.
I mean, we've advanced. When you take a look at it, I mean, you look at where we're at on the macrocosm. You got everything. We got so much information that we can distill into intelligence. Now we need to take that, go back that other step, and now go give me all the intelligence and give it to me so it's actionable. Give me something that I can actually use. I'll build an intel packet. Let me build an intel packet on my organization, correlate that, and between those two, just help me understand where I got to focus.
Yeah, Cyber 6 Gil. Are you taking notes?
Recorded, handing this to the development team. Dear development team, this is what we want next. Yeah.
You see that red dot there, Cecil? It's for a purpose.
Yeah. No, there's some good stuff that's coming out. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm hanging out with them, to be perfectly honest. They've got some good stuff. But the challenge, and I think part of my frustration is, again, in the industry, everybody comes at you and says, hey, I've got this feed and I've got this feed. We don't have anybody that's like, hey, I'm consolidating all of these. I got, behind the scenes, I got 50 of them. I'm going to give you a consolidated, effective channel of information and intelligence you can use.
And I also noticed, I think we're doing duplicate work. We see these IOCs, and then we don't even know, hey, Seg, Have you added this IOCs? Hey, firewall, have you have? I can tell you, I feel that some of the manual work we're doing today are duplicate. The problem is, if I don't do it, how can I trust my tools if they're getting the IOCs?
I ran into this with a TiVo. So this gets really interesting because this is where we get to playbooks. I mean, you've seen this. I mean, we had it in deception. You get it in the orchestration stuff. We get a playbook, and the playbook says, hey, if I see A, B, and C, I will do this. What I've seen is a huge amount of pushback from those of us, not just at the C level, but the technologists, not wanting to release control to a machine. The business going, hang on, I want a human's hands to tell the firewall to shut this down. Don't leave it to the machine. And I'm like, y'all just realize that the machine's probably a little bit more effective than about 95% of humans.
And faster.
And fast. And that's, I think I've seen that. And I don't know, there's that analogy. I mean, you've come from the aviation side as well. There's the analogy that in many cases, planes would be potentially safer if we didn't have people in the cockpits.
We cannot talk planes with you on the podcast.
It'll end up as a classified, another piece of evidence. But we see that in business now, and I'm seeing it more. We've got these amazing playbooks that go, hey, situation A, B, and C means that I'm going to knock this person off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to restrict this or whatever. But the company's like, oh, no, we still need a human to do that. And I'm like, at some point, you're going to run out of humans. Just going to let you know. And it doesn't feel like we're quite there yet.
And humans are so slow. I can tell you, I feel bad sometimes. I'm going to forward this list of IOCs. Hey, I got these IOCs from this group. And I know there's hesitation because 90% of the chance those IOCs might already be in our tool. So anyway,
This actually might, what I'm going to do? I actually just I'm making notes as we're going through. I'm actually going to put I'll put a LinkedIn poll out. I'm going to put a LinkedIn poll out, and I'll put a situation. I'll keep it simple, like, hey, your security orchestration or your SIM realizes that there's a problem here, and the playbook says, drop firewall or do this or do this. Would you let the system do it automatically? Yes, no, need to involve human, or give me others. I want to put that out because I really want to know how many people trust or don't trust it at this point.
Well, and that's why I'll have some struggle in the future with the SOAR, because SOAR is supposed to do those steps, and I'm like, can I trust this tool to block these IPs? It might be blocking legitimate ones.
And then that's it. So then where's trust? Is trust in the information and intelligence? Is trust in the fact that SOAR can do it? Is trust in the fact that a human's going to trust and validate all of those, or validate and maybe trust? That whole trust model is now, where do we place the trust? And how much trust do we give the orchestration system to look after us? And when the bloody thing fails, because let's face it, it's going to, who's accountable?
Well, you just develop a product concept there.
I'm leaving. You're good at this business stuff. I'm good at the execution side of it. You're good at the business stuff.
I can tell you, I spend 90% of my time in meetings and PowerPoint, so I don't know if I still have the technical acumen to develop one.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do the technical side. You can do the business side, because I'm good at the techie side. There we go. We got that sorted.
I like that.
That'd be fun. We've gone through a whole bunch of stuff. We talked about intelligence, business risk. We talked about the board. We've talked about intelligence feeds, sort of about sorting it, operationalizing it. John, what do you have for us? What do you got? What do you want to hear? Yeah, come on. I'm going to shut up for a second.
Maybe we can talk about.
You know what? This is. I mean, I only want to have that when you're around me. I hear that Chris here has a cellar that he could probably open up to the public and charge people. So until I see that in person, I don't want to talk about whiskey. So
we were not allowed to serve alcohol at that CISO XE, and Chris was serving.
Oh gosh.
I was helping. I was merely introducing people to the concept. Yeah, absolutely. That's all we were doing from a briefcase.
Well, you know what? You did bring up a really good point, and I wanted to get Cecil's perspectives, right? So I've had the fortunate chance of talking to a lot of C-suite executives around your perspective around the board, right? You've been in multiple organizations, right? And we don't have to disclose your relationship with the board in all those ones, but how do you if you're not that lucky that you have this secure security savvy board, how do you get them there? How
Well,
do you get them
it's
to understand?
thank you for John for that question, because I love that question. I help a dozen or so CISOs break that barrier, and I don't have a clear answer, but I think one of the things that I notice is it's an art. I think it's for CISOs. I think the best way to describe it is you gotta be a really good storyteller. You gotta
Mm.
start at your. Of course, a lot of us report to a CIO. Some of them report to a CEO or to the board. But I think it's just really an art on communicating threats and risk. Compliance obligations to the board. There's very little population of board of directors today that are unaware of the dangers, but I think for the most part it's really the how you can communicate the story. And I don't know if I have perfected it, but I think I've improved a lot. I still remember my first one 12 years ago. I can tell you, I sucked as a CISO 12 years ago. I can tell you that. I thought I was really the best CISO at that time. But after now, 2022, looking back 12 years ago, hmm, I think I didn't do well. But one of the things I think I was able to improve over time is be able to communicate not just at your vertical but also to your peers. I think when you have this partnership and collaboration with compliance, with internal audit, operations, sales, all these things, they boil up. My first month at this company, I don't think I've done anything extraordinary. I was just doing my job, and the first thing I got was from our leader, and hey, Cecil, I really appreciate what you do here. I don't even know what I did, but I think the results it speaks a lot, and I think the storytelling helps a lot, and I think a combination of all these intangible things, they all help together and they boil up. I can tell you, I'm pretty sure all this small work that we do for our company, it boils up to the CEO and beyond the CEO to the board. I think I still suck as a CISO.
I'll pose one question, Chris, before I head it off. What would your advice be to Cecil from 12 years ago that you know now?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the things I actually thought that I could do without support is being able to do it myself. Two ways. One is it takes a village, internally and externally. I wouldn't be a CISO if I didn't go out there and help some CIOs and CISOs. In fact, my second CISO gig, I wasn't expecting it. It came from a gentleman, a CISO, that I helped develop I helped him on his security project. I didn't charge him of anything, but the network outside, the network inside are very important. I could tell you what, I have so many friends now. Look at you guys. You're all my friends now here. CISO 12 years ago was like a nobody. I didn't go out there and promote myself. What I did is I collaborate. I shared the tools I developed. I developed a privacy program in 2008. I created a generic version and asked for advice on how to make it better. And the people who benefited from those assessment toolkits that I developed, those programs I developed, they came back to me and I was like, wow, they actually helped me in my career. And over time, I had 5, 10, and then suddenly I have friends like Chris and you, John, and now Danny. So it's been really an honor, privilege to be in this industry with you guys. And 12 years ago, I thought I could do it alone. I did not ask for advice. I thought I could do this without a lot of support from my team. 12 years later, I can't function without my team. I can't function without my leadership. I can't function without, and people think I'm the smartest CISO. I can tell the only reason I know most of the answers is because I have friends like Chris to ask for, and I have other CISO friends. I can tell you the only reason I know a lot of people and a lot of answers is because I have a lot of friends.
And that to me is the critical part about it. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's being humble enough to go, hey, I don't know it all. Let me go figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's there was that Gary put the post out the other day about basically, hey, board by people, CISOs are going to be on the board, and I'm like, that's great, but first we need CISOs to learn elocution lessons so they can actually talk to the board in their language. Secondly, that communication collaboration conversation needs to happen. I mean, you just summed that whole thing up, and that's all it's about. This is a village. We're all in it, and we're all in it together. So it behooves us to help each other. I mean, that's really what it's all about. This has been fantastic. I appreciate the time.
Of course.
Cecil, I'd love to have you back on. We're doing the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I will pre-warn you that as the guest, there will be untimely and terrible things that will happen to you. So it is what it is. But I'd love to have you back on at some point. I'd love to do it over whiskey or something.
I'll do it every time if you want me.
Yes. You're awesome. Thank you. John, pleasure to have the conversations. Look forward to hanging out with you. Danny, as always, thank you so very, very much for sorting, organizing, coordinating, and everything. And Cecil, absolute pleasure to have you on, and we will catch up again. So RSA, I'll probably see you at RSA.
I'll see you at RSA.
Definitely. To everybody listening, thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or nighttime, and we'll see you all in the dark.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Dr. Dark Web. This show is brought to you by Cyber6Girl, the threat intelligence company. If you would like to learn more, please feel free to follow or subscribe to Dr. Dark Web on your favorite podcast streamer. Or, as an alternative, you can always find us online at cyber6girl.com/podcast. You'll find all the latest episodes, goodies, nuggets of information, background, and probably some stickers or two. See you in the dark.